Built for builders, from beginners to pros, this is where great backyards begin. Welcome to the Ultimate Deck Podcast, your source for backyard building tips, product breakdowns, and pro advice from the front lines of the industry. Here are your hosts, Shane Chapman and Wade Laurent.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. We ain't screwing around here. It's Wade and Shane, back with another exciting episode. Today we're talking about whether you should screw your deck down
or hide it.
Or hide screwing around. If you're screwing around,
best to hide it.
Best to hide it. So, I was going to say that this is going to be an episode about composite decks, but it doesn't necessarily need to be.
No, you could talk about the camo edge clips.
But that's where the argument is, I think, is in composite decking.
Boy, okay, sure. Devil's advocate would say I had lots of people that are curious about the camo edge fastener, and whether it breaks the board and whether it's solid or good.
Okay. We'll go through that too then.
Fine.
Where I was thinking was like the strength it adds or doesn't add to a deck, and I was like, well, and then wood, you're screwing them down. But let's start with composite.
Fine.
Because I think that's where commonly more people are looking, at least in our market, are looking for that fastener free finish, and they want to use the clips. So with composite decking, it's generally nearly almost brands are grooved on the side of the board to accept a hidden clip. And I don't know when or why. I would imagine the first person that thought of this, and that's just how the industry is now. But with composite decking, one of the benefits you think of is like, oh, it doesn't have any screws on the top, so it looks nicer because you use those clippy things, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's how most of these decks are put down. There's certain regions, though, certainly, especially I find like in the Pacific Northwest, where they still screw it all down, and everybody's okay with that. Yeah. But in this area, if you went and didn't run that by the homeowner first and just went and screwed down a composite deck, it would be a lynching.
You would redo it.
Yeah, he would be done. You'd be pulling it all up.
Yeah.
So there's two ways to do it. You can use the hidden clips through those little grooves on the sides, or you can face screw the board down. Generally, those are the two practices. There's many different clips in the market. There's many different screwing techniques, but in general, what's your preferred method?
So I think with composite, I prefer the hidden fastener, whether that's a camo clip or a Trex Hideaway or I don't know, name them, right? There's a bazillion of them, like you had said.
Yeah.
But that's my preference. I like the camo edge clip the best. I believe it was a bit of a game changer in how you could stack so many of them together and you don't have to worry about them falling out, and it just sort of increased the efficiency of putting your decking down.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's the answer for me.
I would agree that camo edge clips have been really nice in, I don't know if it's an invention, but an evolution of the clip systems. And so I think that the reason I like them or clips in general, is for a few reasons. One, it looks much nicer, I think, to have a clean finish and no screws on the top of the deck. Even if you are somebody who's meticulous and you're going to snap your chalk line and use your speed square and line up your screws perfectly, which you should if you're going to do that, I still think it looks better when there's no screws showing. The problem is many people wouldn't place the screws perfectly like that, and then it really looks like crap. And using the clips is a foolproof way to get a nice finish without having to pay so much attention to screw placement all the time.
Yeah.
The camo clips also do a good job of actually biting into the board and giving some lateral resistance from that board slipping, which also gives a little bit more structure to the deck as opposed to just like the old school clips from like Trex or any of the previous ones that were just kind of like a nylon flat biscuit that just held them down with pressure.
Yeah. Some
clips will actually bite the with like a metal piece, will bite into the board to stop that. Some will even like screw through part of the board.
Yeah.
Like is it the ebb tie clips that do that? Or there's certainly the E-Pay clips will do that.
And the Tiger Claw kind of bites on an angle. It's a stainless steel one, and the screw goes in on an angle. It doesn't go through the board, but it still bites down into the wood and pulls on an angle, right?
So the primary reason that somebody would give to face screw the whole deck down instead is that it does add a ton of strength to the structure of the deck.
Absolutely.
By screwing into it. So you have that positive connection of the board being screwed to the joist, which means it can't really rack or sway. You've really kind of locked it in place by doing so. Whereas with the clips, there is potential for some movement there because some of those clips allow the boards to kind of slide on them.
Yeah, because they're just clamps, right?
Yeah.
It's like you've clamped the decking down.
But I do think that in today's world with how people build decks now, they're putting enough lateral sway bracing in typically to deal with that anyway.
Yeah.
Like knowing you're going to put a composite deck with clips on, okay, well then add some knee bracing or a V brace or diagonal brace underneath the deck or whatever to ensure that you're taking care of that racking anyway. I also think that in today's building practices, you're often picture framing the deck and you're putting some screws through some boards around the deck in some fashion anyway, and seam boards where you're getting some positive connection around the deck. And often some people are even putting the odd screw into the field boards anyway. They're doing and some manufacturers recommend it. They're doing clips throughout the whole deck, but they recommend putting a couple of screws at the ends of the boards, start and end of the boards. And that just stops them from sliding around on the clips as well. So I think that's the good compromise finish. The clips are way faster too, let's be honest. Yep. You're putting in one screw per two boards instead of two screws every board. Yep. So it's half as many screws to put in. Yep. Just goes a lot faster. It also, all the clips will have an automatic spacing. They have a chunk of plastic that acts as a spacer, so you don't have to pay attention or slip speed square in there. It's just it just goes so much faster and so much more accurately.
Yeah, it's even though those clips are designed to create a proper spacing all the time, you do still have to pay attention. And I think people should, when they fasten their decking down, they should start in the middle and work their way out to the edges, because you can sort of over crank those fasteners. You can push a little bit harder, and it's even.
Did you just suggest people start in the middle of the deck and work out both ways with what? With the clips?
Yeah, when they're fastening their decking down, it's so you're going to put the deck board down, and you're going to start in the middle of the deck board, in the middle of the deck, and then work to the end, right? Don't start.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Don't start laying the decking in the middle of the deck. No.
I thought the deck is 10 feet deep. You want the first board to be at 5, and then you work both ways. You're talking end to end. I see.
Yeah, I'm talking if the board's 120 inches long, start at 60 inches
totally.
And work to 120, and then go back to 60 and work to 0.
Not sure where my head went with that.
Yeah. You're not, I describe it wrong, because you're not the only one who's done that. The last person I explained that to said, well, how do I get it to start in the middle? And I was like, what do you mean, how do you start in the middle? Just go to the middle of the board. And they're like, maybe you said go to the middle. And I was like, not the middle.
Maybe, did you say middle of the deck? Maybe instead of middle of the board?
No, I said board, but
I'm going to listen back to this.
Yeah, but I said to them, I was like, not the middle of the deck.
Right.
The middle of the board. But people, they don't think of the middle of the board, because you would just naturally start on one end and work your way to the other end.
Yeah.
And it's don't do that with composite, right? So, or with wood. Don't do it with anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. If you're going to face screw the deck on a composite deck, make sure that you or your contractor, whoever's doing it, is using a proper screw for it. A composite, composite deck screw.
Oh.
Because I don't know how, but people are still putting down composite decks with frickin' wood screws. I see it on Reddit too frequently that homeowners will come on there and be like, is this right? They said that these are the screws they use. And it's like, what?
Mushroom
how is this still a thing?
Yeah.
How, clearly this is a box store thing, because no lumberyard, no respected lumberyard would ever sell a bunch of composite deck boards to somebody and be like, did you need the clips and stuff too? This has to be a self-serve situation where the contractor is just doesn't know what the hell they're doing, has never done a composite deck before, and grabs their own boards and checks themselves out, and away they go with it. And nobody asks them, do you need the clips or the proper screws?
Yeah.
Because it's just asinine that anybody would still do that. So a composite deck screw is designed in a way to work with that material, to not kind of mushroom out or bulge the material out as the screw goes in. And a wood screw is not designed to do that. It isn't, because wood fibers are not dense. They will just compress.
They move out of the way.
Yeah. They can separate but composite is dense, and it pushes material out. It's got to go somewhere.
It's got to go up.
So, and not only that, but you can get colored screws to kind of match decking. So yes, it's face screw, but you can still use a bluish gray screw with your bluish gray deck, or your reddish screw with your reddish deck, or whatever. It still looks really nice and clean.
Yeah.
A properly screwed down deck looks just fine, in my opinion, but it's just not commonplace.
The only one that I would do, the only way I would do this is if it was Ipe or Red Bilao, and it was done with stainless steel screws. I really like that look.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I like it. It reminds me of a boat or something. It's all super nautical. And I'm like, yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, there is certainly something to that for sure.
That's the only one I like.
Yeah.
The rest is hide the screws.
Yeah. Now there is a best of both worlds option here, in that you could use a plug kit with your screws.
Yes.
So maybe you must screw your deck down for whatever reason, you just want it screwed down, you want it to be stronger, blah, 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 you can countersink those screws and use matching plugs cut from the same decking you're using to virtually hide the screws. Some brands hide better than others, but like
the key word is virtually.
And when like it's a lot different when there's 20 of them over on the edge there
under the railing
versus 1,000 of them all over the deck. Like you're going to see some of those for sure.
You're seeing them.
But they're much more hidden than just a color match screw. God. So you've got that option.
Speaking of that, do you follow Tony from Premier Outdoor Living? Do you
yes.
His personal one? So did you see the video that he put the plug in he put a black plug in the other day and he lined it all up and the grain was all lined up perfectly and then he just twisted it so the grain was the wrong way and then hammered it in. He's so funny. I just like, he's such a great follow because he just does.
He's trolling the trolls.
He's trolling the trolls. Yeah. It's just so fun. But it was a screw that was up. I don't know. It was like way up in the gutter. It's up way. It was like 12 feet in the air, and it was holding a piece of fascia onto one of the beam materials up against the tongue and groove ceiling. And so, like, no one is ever going to see that screw. But he put it in there and then twisted it, pounded it in.
That is pretty funny. Yeah.
So and there's lots to it to making those screws disappear. Sometimes it's really hard because you get a bit of a ring around the material. If the decking itself is a little bit harder, then you get a ring on that cap and it shows up. And it's like, if people tell you, oh, no, we're better. It's not showing up. It shows up. It's there. And you can see them.
Yeah.
So
I think that kind of answers the question on the world of composite decking. But you had mentioned wood, that there's an option for doing hidden fasteners on wood as well.
Yeah. And so for us, I would say that the majority of the time we're seeing this is with pressure treated lumber. It's just a way to reduce that extra penetration through the top of the wood because you know that those fibers are going to let go and you're going to end up with a sliver that's going to pop up, right? And a sliver doesn't ever stick into an adult's foot who can like calmly handle it and reach over and pull the sliver out. It's always a kid who's, and maybe it's like your cousin, maybe it's your cousin's kid who didn't want to come over in the first place and is a little dramatic. That's who gets the sliver.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden you get a family feud because your deck's not safe and you hurt little Jimmy and it's just like, well,
if that ain't reason enough.
He shouldn't have been here. I didn't invite him. So anyway, but so that the camo, what is it? It's a camo protect screw, right? And
protect screws, with the marksman jigs.
Marksman jig. And it fastens in through the shoulder of the board, goes in on like 45-degree angle. It's kind of a preset thing. Also really great because the tool that sets the angle of the screw also sets the gapping or the spacing for the deck boards. So you get this really consistent look. You have that positive fasten, like it's positively connected. I know that we use that exact same system with Wolf for a while because it's a solid edge board. Or now they have grooved edge boards, but at a time it was only solid edge. And so that camo tool was a great option for that.
Yep.
They had a hid fast clip, which is kind of like a hardwood flooring nailer that they always recommended. And I thought that was okay, but I didn't love that system. It was,
same.
Yeah. It's just like, it just wasn't for me. So
yeah, I really like the camo marksman setup. I think it's a good one. You can get different size spacers for that thing too. If anybody's wondering, you're like, well, I don't want to space my treated because whatever. It's like you can go tighter spacing for treated if you'd like.
Yeah, you can do an 1/8 inch or 1/16 of an inch.
Yep.
But you have to understand that as you get those tighter, then where the screw ends up going into the board has to be higher. It's up higher on the shoulder, so you can start to see it a little bit better.
Yeah.
I guess you have like a Craig jig, right? If you're doing hard woods, like the Ipes and Red Blouse and Kumarus and
and GRK has a camo tool now too. I can't remember the exact name of it.
A chameleon.
Something Elite. It's called, but it's the same idea. So you don't like.
Are there screws called chameleon screws?
Well, they're composite deck screws were called chameleons with a K.
Yeah.
I don't know what the trim head ones are. What name they're with that tool, but
anyway, so those are good. Like I like that because it's a positive connection to the deck and all the points you had mentioned earlier. It's like prevents racking and just underfoot. It's going to feel a little more secure, a little more solid. So
it's kind of the best of both worlds. You're getting the positive strength connection, and you're also getting the mostly hidden fastener finish. So, and the consistent spacing. It's like it's a really good system.
Yeah.
The only knock on it is I've heard some people say with treated lumber they've experienced screws snapping when the lumber dries out. I haven't heard that much personally in our market, but that's not to say it doesn't happen. So I suppose it's very possible. There are stainless screws that you could use that would probably mitigate that, but they're quite a bit more money for the
Yeah.
stainless versions, but they exist. Or if you're in a coastal application, you have to have stainless. They do exist.
Yeah, that's right.
And the other alternative with wood is just face screw it like you would anything else. But to your point, it's like it kind of invites the opportunity for that board to start to splinter a bit.
And it's just it's one more spot for the moisture to go in. I know that on the shoulder you're also going to get that moisture to go in, but at least that rot's hidden, it's on the underside and you don't know.
The other nice thing about that is that putting them on the side is that when it comes time to, some people when they go to refinish their deck, they're going to sand it down. And when those boards shrink, those screws can pop sometimes and they get a little proud. And you want like first step of resanding your deck is to go around and like re-drive all the screws to make sure they're below the surface. You're not hitting it with your sander.
And they're full of paint and they're full of dust and dirt.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you put them on the side, you never have to worry about them. They're not in the way of anything. Nobody's catching their foot on them. They're not going to cause a splinter. They're not in the way of sanding. They're not in the way of staining. They're just out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great system.
I really like those. There used to be a product called Shadow Track, which was like an L bracket went underneath the deck that people used for a while, even with composite.
People still want to do that.
Oh my God. I don't know what the hell the appeal is these days. I get it when it was the only option 20 years ago before clips and other options became more common, but like the idea of crawling around under a deck and having to screw the board from underneath.
You know that L bracket thing? You used to like screw it on the side of the joist. Could I get that? It's like, absolutely you could get that. But I think you should lay down on the floor and crawl under this desk and then visit with me on this side of the desk. It's like, that's silly. I don't want to do that. It's like, why would you crawl under there?
Plus you almost needed somebody on top standing on the board anyway, so it didn't push up as you were trying to drive screws in, especially with composite because it's so dense. Yeah. You almost had to pre-drill it. But anyway, there's many better options out there.
Somebody hands you the wrong screw all the way through the top now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The one thing I wanted to touch on was the ability to remove and replace a board if you needed to. So obviously if it's screwed through the top, you're going to think that makes it easier to remove and replace the board. That would seem to be a benefit of face screwing versus everything else. But
you're wrong.
It's not as easy as it sounds. So with most clip systems, you can still do it. And with the face screw options, here's two things. One, if it's a wood deck and you've face screwed it, to your point, if you've stained it with anything, or just it's been outside, the screw heads fill up and you can't get a good seat with your drill bit in it, and you end up spinning out your screws or whatever else. But also what happens is like that screw has now been in there kind of like corroding for a few years and it's been torqued a few times. Now you're going to try to torque it back. They often will snap off, especially those coated screws. And so you might go to try to pop the screws back out to replace that board and half the screws break off. And now the board is still screwed down just without a head now. Yeah. Or you got to put a screw back in where there's an old chunk of screw in. And it's not as easy as it seems to get those out of there. With composite screws on a composite deck, you'd think, oh, well, that will be easier. It's like, kind of not really. Those screws are designed to go in a certain way and they don't come out that easy because they have reverse threads on them. And once the normal threads are embedded in the wood, all that's left in the board is the reverse threads. And when you're trying to reverse it out, those threads are like, no. We're going down. We're going down. Yeah. You got threads fighting both ways and those will often strip out as well. Yeah. So it's like, that's not super simple as it seems either. Yeah. With many of the clip systems, it is possible for you to loosen the clips and slide them down the groove out the end of the board. Yep. Slide that board out, put a new board in, slide clips back through the groove, and then clamp them down again. Yeah. Easier with some systems than others, but
and
doable most of the time.
Don't think that this is an easy task. Like you're going to be frustrated, but you can do it.
Yeah, it's possible. Yep. Yeah. So removal and replacement, I would almost say is no more than equal. Like it's not, I don't think it's much of an advantage for face screwing because I honestly think that can be more of a pain in the ass sometimes getting the screws back out.
Absolutely.
So consider that as well. But mostly this is coming down to an aesthetic decision. Again, if you're going to use clips, use a good clip because there's some junky ones out there that aren't going to give you a lot of strength. And so camo edge clips are fantastic. I think there's no reason to not use those, or camo wedge, whatever.
Yeah, edge, wedge, and X. My X is gone. Well, there's still some X in the world probably, but.
So that's it. Do what you want to do, but just now you're more aware of the pros and cons of different fastening tips.
That's what we're here for.
So, yeah. Okay, till next week. Have a great day.